Have you ever been so lost in a thought that it felt like reality itself, and then suddenly you noticed you were watching it like a movie? And have you ever wondered why the more you try to protect your identity, the more anxious you feel, as if the very act of defending yourself is what keeps you trapped? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going deeper into a question that sounds simple but can change the way you experience your entire life. Who is the one behind your eyes? Buddhism points to a surprising answer that many people misunderstand at first. The teaching of no self is not saying you do not exist. It is saying the version of self you keep clinging to is not the solid permanent intoner of life. And when you see that clearly something unexpected happens, the mind relaxes, fear loses fuel, anger cools faster, shame stops sticking as hard, not because life becomes perfect, but because you stop carrying the extra burden of defending a mistaken identity. Two ideas will guide everything you hear today. First, much suffering is the labor of maintaining a self-image, a constant background effort to be seen a certain way, to avoid being seen another way, and to control outcomes so the story of me feels safe. Second, there is a simple awareness already present that can notice thoughts, feelings, and sensations without being trapped inside them. When you learn to rest in that awareness, the sense of self becomes lighter, more flexible, and far less fragile. That flexibility is a kind of freedom. Now let me tell this as a story that feels real, not like a lecture. Imagine a teenager named Mia. Mia is bright and sensitive. She can be funny with friends and focused in class. She can look confident in photos. She can say the right things at the right times. But when she is alone, her mind becomes a courtroom. Every moment is reviewed. Every sentence is replayed. Every expression is analyzed. Did I look weird? Did I sound stupid? Did they think I was boring? Did I say too much? Did I say too little? The mind acts like a judge and Mia acts like the defendant. Most people around Mia have no idea this is happening. They see a normal person. But inside, she is constantly managing an image. One afternoon in school, a teacher asks Mia to read something out loud. Mia knows how to read. She is not afraid of reading. What she is afraid of is being seen reading. She is afraid of making one tiny mistake and then having the identity she is protecting collapse. She stands up. She starts reading. Her voice shakes slightly. She stumbles on one word. Someone laughs quietly, not even loudly. But for Mia, it feels like a siren. Her face gets hot, her chest tightens, her mind explodes with a sentence that feels final. You are embarrassing. She sits down and stops hearing the rest of class. Her mind is already rewriting her identity based on one moment. That night, Mia cannot stop replaying it. She tries to distract herself, but the memory keeps returning. She scrolls. She watches videos. She eats. She tries to force sleep, but the mind keeps insisting, you must fix this. You must make sure it never happens again. You must be safer next time. This is how the self-story traps people. It turns life into a constant defense mission. A few days later, Mia is visiting a cousin who is older and calmer. The cousin is not perfect but feels more steady. Mia asks how the cousin does not seem so stressed about what people think. The cousin laughs and says she used to be exactly like Mia until she learned one thing. The cousin says you are not your thoughts. Mia rolls her eyes. That sounds like a quote. The cousin says, I know, but listen, you believe every thought that says you are failing. You treat it like truth, but it is just a thought. And there is something in you that can notice thoughts. That something is not failing. It is simply aware. Mia does not know how to respond. Part of her wants to dismiss it. Part of her wants it to be true. The cousin shares a talk about Buddhist insight beyond no self. It is not aggressive. It is calm. It explains that no self does not mean you disappear. It means the thing you call self is not a solid unit you can find and hold. It is a collection of changing processes. Mia listens and feels defensive. If there is no solid self, then who am I? If there is no solid self, then what am I supposed to protect? If I do not protect myself, I will be hurt. But the talk is patient. It suggests that the self we cling to is mostly a mental construction, a story built out of memory, labels, and fear. The story is useful for daily life, but suffering happens when you treat the story like a permanent essence. Mia pauses the talk and stares at the wall. She suddenly realizes she has been living as a story, not as a life. The next day, she decides to test the teaching as an experiment rather than a belief. She does not want to become spiritual. She just wants relief. That night, when the memory of the classroom returns, she tries something new. She sits on her bed and notices what is happening. First, she notices the body, heat in the face, tight throat, pressure in the chest. Then she notices the thoughts. You are embarrassing. They will remember. You are not safe. Then she asks a question the talk suggested. Who is aware of these thoughts? She does not answer with words. She just asks and waits. Something subtle happens. Attention shifts. The memory is still there, but now it is seen from a little distance. It is like stepping back from the screen while the movie keeps playing. Mia feels a tiny bit of space. Then her mind jumps in and says, "Good, you are doing it right. Keep the space, make it permanent." And the space shrinks. Mia actually laughs quietly because she can see how the mind turns even calm into another performance. That laugh changes something, because it is the first time she has watched her mind without believing it completely. Over the next week, Mia repeats the experiment. When anxiety shows up, she does not immediately fight it or obey it. She notices it. She names it. Anxiety is here. Thought is here. Sensation is here. And then she asks who is aware. Each time the anxiety softens a little. Not always, but enough to prove something important. The feeling is not the whole truth. It is an event. Now the story takes a deeper turn. Mia starts noticing that her suffering is not only fear of embarrassment. It is fear of losing a self-image. A self-image that says, I must be seen as capable. I must be seen as cool. I must be seen as normal. I must be seen as worthy. She realizes she has been using other people's eyes as her mirror. She has been letting imagined judgment decide her value. That is exhausting. The Buddhist teaching of no self begins to make more sense now. The self-image is not a solid reality. It is a moving target made out of thoughts. And because it is a moving target, it can never be fully secured. So Mia tries another experiment. She looks for the self directly. One evening, she sits quietly and asks herself, where is the me that feels embarrassed? She finds sensations. She finds thoughts. She finds images. She finds a voice that says me. But when she looks closer, the voice is just another thought. The image is just another image. The sensation is just sensation. She cannot find a solid owner. At first, this scares her. Then it relieves her, because if the me is not a solid object, then it cannot be permanently damaged by one moment. It can still be hurt, but it cannot be destroyed the way her mind claims. This is where no self becomes practical. No self means you stop treating experiences as identity verdicts. A mistake becomes a moment, not a life sentence. A criticism becomes information, not annihilation. An awkward moment becomes human, not proof of unworthiness. Mia begins to practice this in real life. In class, she raises her, and once, even though her chest is tight, the mind says you will fail. She notices the thought. Thought is here. She notices the awareness watching it. She speaks anyway. Her voice is not perfect, but she speaks. Nothing collapses. Later, she feels a wave of pride, then a wave of fear again. She realizes courage is not one event. Courage is repeating the practice. Now let us deepen the story again, because this is not only about social anxiety. It is about the one behind your eyes in every moment. Mia starts noticing how anger works too. When someone makes a rude comment, her mind instantly creates a self who is attacked and must defend. The body heats up. The words want to strike back. The ego wants to win. But now, she pauses more often. She asks who is aware of this anger. The pause creates space. In that space, she can choose. Sometimes she chooses to set a boundary calmly. Sometimes she chooses to walk away. Sometimes she chooses to respond with humor. But she stops being dragged automatically. This is the real fruit. No self does not make you passive. It makes you less reactive. And less reactive means less harm. Less harm means less regret. Less regret means a quieter mind. A quieter mind means more peace. This is cause and effect in the mind. This is karma in a very practical sense. Mia also begins to see that compassion becomes easier when the self-story loosens. When the self-story is tight, everything feels personal. People become threats. Conversations become battles. Social media becomes a scoreboard. But when the self-story loosens, Mia can see others more clearly. She can see insecurity behind cruelty. She can see fear behind arrogance. She can see loneliness behind attention-seeking. This does not excuse harm. It just helps her respond with wisdom rather than hatred. And this is important, because compassion is not just kindness. Compassion is protection against becoming bitter. Now the story introduces another character. Maya's friend Leo is struggling with similar anxiety, but expresses it differently. Leo becomes loud. Leo becomes sarcastic. Leo makes jokes at other people's expense. It looks like confidence, but it is armor. Mia used to get irritated with Leo. Now she sees the pattern. Leo is protecting a fragile self too. One day Leo makes a joke about Mia in front of others. It stings. Mia feels he tries. The mind prepares a sharp reply. Then she pauses. Who is aware of the sting? She feels the sensation. She sees the thought. She sees the urge to hurt back. She breathes. Then she says calmly, "That was not cool." The group goes quiet for a moment. Leo looks surprised. He expected a fight or a laugh. He did not expect calm clarity. Afterward, Leo texts Mia and says sorry. He admits he was feeling insecure and tried to get attention. Mia feels compassion. She also feels respect for herself because she did not betray her own values. This is how the path works. Wisdom and compassion together. Wisdom sees the self-story and does not worship it. Compassion sees suffering and does not add cruelty. Together they create steadiness. Now let us return to the core question. Who is the one behind your eyes? Many people imagine a little person inside the head, a pilot, a controller. But if you look closely, you can see that even the sense of being a controller is something you are aware of. I thought says I am in control. You are aware of that thought. A feeling says I am not safe. You are aware of that feeling. A memory says I was hurt. You are aware of that memory. So awareness is already here before the story of me forms. That does not mean the personality disappears. It means the personality is not the ultimate ground. Mia begins to rest in this more often, not all day, but in small moments. While walking, she feels the feet on the ground. While eating, she tastes without rushing. While listening, she listens without preparing a performance reply. In these moments, the self-story is quieter and life feels more vivid. This is a key sign. When ego relaxes, the world becomes brighter. Not because the world changed, because the filter loosened. Now let us address a fear that often appears when people hear no self. They fear becoming nothing. They fear losing motivation. They fear not caring. Mia had that fear too. But she discovers the opposite. When she stops spending so much energy defending identity, she has more energy for real action. She studies with clearer focus because she is not multitasking with self-judgment. She sleeps better because she is not rehearsing shame. She enjoys friendships more because she is not constantly scanning for proof she is valued. She becomes more motivated because her motivation is not fear-based. It becomes value-based. She wants to learn. She wants to grow. She wants to help. That is healthier motivation. Now let us connect this to impermanence and death. Awareness in a gentle way. When you cling to a permanent self, death becomes terrifying because it looks like the destruction of the owner. But if you see that the self is already a changing process, then death becomes less like a sudden theft and more like part of the same law of change. This does not remove grief. It removes the extra panic created by clinging to permanence. Mia is young, but she begins to feel this. She stops wasting time on petty image battles because she realizes time matters. She becomes kinder faster because she realizes people are fragile. She forgives quicker because she realizes holding grudges is like holding fire. These are signs of wisdom growing. Now I want to bring this to you in the simplest practical way. When you feel overwhelmed, try this. Notice the body. Notice the thought. Ask who is aware. Rest in the space that appears even if it is small. Then choose one compassionate action. Compassion is not separate from insight. It stabilizes insight. If you use no self to become cold, you miss the point. No self should make you softer because you see the shared human condition more clearly. Mia learns that too. She learns that the deepest peace is not winning. It is releasing. Releasing the need to be perfect. Releasing the need to be admired. Releasing the need to control every outcome. Releasing the belief that every thought is truth. This release is freedom. Now let me close the story with a quiet scene. Months later, Mia is in class again and the teacher asks her to read. The old memory flickers. The chest tightens a little. The mind whispers you might stumble. Mia notices the whisper. Who is aware? She feels the breath. She stands and reads. She stumbles slightly on one word and keeps going. No disaster. No identity collapse. Just a human moment moving through. Mia sits down and feels something she never felt after the old incident. Peace. Not because she was flawless, because she did not cling. That is the teaching beyond no self. You do not have to be a perfect self to deserve calm. You only have to stop believing the self-story is a prison. I want to invite you to share your experience in the comments. Have you ever noticed yourself watching your own thoughts? And when you do, does it feel calming or strange? If you want more long-form episodes like this, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and join as a member if you want to support deeper content. Thank you for being here. Until next time, remember, you are not obligated to live inside every thought that appears. You can notice it, you can let it pass, and you can rest as the awareness that was here before the thought began.